How's it going? I'm Bradley with Allaqcess Sports, bringing you a brand new episode of our sleepers, studs, and stayaways as we go position by position, getting you ready for Draftkings Week 1 in the NFL. Typically, we go through an entire lineup, but y'all asked for a little bit of a change, and we want to go position by position so we can spend a little bit more time on these players. Week 1 is always a wild one, and there's a lot of storylines that we got to talk about before we get into the players that I actually love. Jerome Ford is someone that clearly needs to be on your radar, or is on everyone else's radar. At $5,500, he's going to be an extremely popular pick, as he's going to be RB1 until Nick Chubb returns. The Cowboys were decent last year against the rush. Now, without Dan Quinn, we'll have to see how that defense looks. But Jerome Ford at $5,500 is a sneaky good play as someone that's capable of getting you 26 points at only $5,000. We're always looking for 3 to 4 XR value, so we want to get a 15 to 20 point game. Devin Singletary at $5,700 is very popular right now because of the injuries that we've seen thus far to Tyrone Tracy and Dante Miller. He's probably going to be RB1, but those guys are getting healthy, so we're not sure exactly how it's going to play out Week 1. But again, it's a Minnesota Vikings team that is not very good, but last year they were pretty good against the run. There's not a lot of things to scream home about in this Giants offense. I don't know if Devin Singletary is the one for me. Finally, of our honorable mentions, we need to talk about Chuba Hubbard. All offseason, everyone was telling you about Jonathan Brooks. As a Panthers fan, I've told you Jonathan Brooks is out for a while. You know that. I know that. Chuba Hubbard is probably going to be used in a heavy RB1 type role. At $5,300, if he gets a sniff of what Rashad White was doing in Tampa Bay for head coach Dave Canales last year, this year, Chuba Hubbard can get a 15-20 point game for us Week 1. I mean, that's consistent. So now, the guys that I absolutely love at the running back position, Jonathan Taylor, possibly to crush once again Houston, as he did last year to end the season. No, not this week for me. Bejan Robinson at $7,700 going up against what's appeared to be a very bad Pittsburgh Steelers team. Atlanta's gotten very good very quickly with the additions of Matthew Judon, Justin Simmons, Kirk Cousins earlier in the offseason. I think this is a very dangerous play, and at $7,700, we know he's capable of having some very, very big weeks for us. This might be one of those weeks. I don't necessarily know if I have to pay up for Bejan because there's a lot of value still left to talk about out there. But if you are wanting to pay up for one of those two big backs, I kind of lean to Bejan Week 1. Next on the list for me is Alvin Kamara, and this one hurts going up against the Carolina Panthers. He led all running backs last year with 6.5 targets per game. He is still a PPR champion, so if he's getting us just 5 points off of catches alone, I'm going to be very, very happy with that floor. You get a Carolina Panthers team that could not get off the field on third downs last year under defensive coordinator Ejiro Evero. Good against the pass. Check down champion Derek Carr is just going to drop it off to Alvin Kamara, who can do some real damage in games against defenses that struggled against the run. At $6,700, I like this pivot away from those top two guys with still high PPR upside and a high floor. I've mentioned it every single week on here. I play a ton of 50-50 matchups. I just like to double my money each and every week and then kind of play a splash on the Millionaire Maker. Alvin Kamara to me has one of the highest floors Week 1. Rashad White led all running backs in snaps last year, and I don't think Bucky Irving Game 1, Week 1 is going to have a stranglehold on a lot of these snaps. Rashad White is still going to get his fair share of touches with Bucky Irving coming in, whether it was 7 receptions or 7 targets out of the backfield, 5 targets out of the backfield, or just 20 handoffs in general. Rashad White is another guy I think has a high floor Week 1. So Rashad White at $6,300 may not be my favorite play as Kamara or Bejan, but I do like him more than Aaron Jones, Raheem Mostert, and James Conner. We won't spend too much time talking about this, but Zamir White at $5,700 all off season. Everyone has been telling you that Zamir White is going to be the next big thing. Luke Getsy, the offensive coordinator for the Chicago Bears, a run-heavy first team, now comes and joins the Raiders coaching staff. That means it's going to be a run-heavy team. Now, this scheme does fit Zamir White, and it even fits Alexander Mattison a little bit better than the Minnesota Vikings run scheme did for Mattison. If we can get these performances Week 1 against an LA Chargers team that was mid at best defensively, I'll be very happy. Defenses still need to focus on Devontae Adams and Brock Bowers being a receiving threat. Luke Getsy's going to have to call an even keel game to kind of back and loosen up those defenders. I think he's capable of doing it. Zamir White has shown that he can carry the load. So although I don't like him necessarily for my own fantasy football team for the year-long stretch on a bad Raiders team, I love him Week 1 against the LA Chargers. The last play that I have on my list is going to be Javante Williams at $5,500. You might be asking yourself, but Bradley, that's kind of a loaded backfield. A lot of people are heavy on Jaleel McLaughlin. I'm not so much. You could get Jerome Ford, who's going to be the RB1 going up against Dallas. But again, I think that's probably going to be a popular pick. Nii Harris is also in the same realm, going up against a bad Atlanta team. Arthur Smith, revenge game for the offensive coordinator there. Nii Harris, a very interesting play, but I'm leaning towards Javante Williams. I want to get him into my lineup week 1. 20-point game, an 11-point game, an 18-point game. Again, at $5,500, if we're getting a 15 to 20-point game, 3 to 4x my value, I absolutely love that. In week 1, the pricing and scoring is going to be all over the place. You're probably going to need 200 points to cash this week, and I love some of the value plays that you can get at running back, and Javante Williams might be my favorite of them all. If we start with a couple of the running backs that we talked about, Javante Williams, Zamir White, Rashad White, it still allows us to go get big play guys like Kyle Pitts, getting Kirk Cousins in there, a guy that loves to use his tight end, Tyreek Hill in one of the highest scoring games. Maybe you want to swap out Anthony Richardson for Trevor Lawrence and put in Brian Thomas here. But if you go with this, Anthony Richardson run naked with the rushing upside, you have a lot of really good weapons to choose from. Buffalo, who's going to come out as wide receiver 1? We can look at that. Josh Downs, maybe you do pair him with Anthony Richardson. Demario Douglas, potentially wide receiver 1 there in New England. In a game where they're probably going to be chasing Cincinnati for points. Ladd McConkey, if you trust him against Las Vegas. Justin Herbert needs someone to throw to. Is it going to be Ladd? There's that Brian Thomas play. Gabe Davis, another Jacksonville receiver. Tyler Boyd, excuse me. A major receiving threat with D-Hop gone for Tennessee. They'll need someone to throw to. Darius Slayton on the outside of Malik Neighbor. There's a lot of things to choose from here, including Michael Wilson. The list goes on and on and on. We'll be putting together another lineup with our sleepers, studs, and stacks. That's tomorrow, where we look at quarterbacks and wide receivers and pairing them together and building the perfect lineup for week 1 of the NFL season. Now, again, I typically play high floor 50-50 matchups, so that's where we're looking at. If you like this video at any time, please think about giving it a thumbs up, subscribing to the channel. If you want more information and you want to go above and beyond in support of the channel, head over to Patreon for our weekly draft guide, our weekly DFS guide, where we give you a little bit of insights to how we are going to be shaping our lineup and what our main 5 core plays look like. We do that every single week and include player rankings. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. There's a million things you could be doing, and you spent a little bit of time with me. Best of luck week 1 in the NFL season. Hopefully I see you in the comments section and in the next video.